Hi everyone. So this is the video that I'm gonna try to do the social index and the social abstracts in one video. The social index should be pretty straightforward because I think it's almost the same as social sciences full text, right? But the sociological abstracts is a little more detailed because you could actually do a little more with the information or information results in social under social abstracts. So let me do social index first. And it's going to look somewhat similar to the social full text or social science full text, right? And you'll notice that it's also by EBSCO, right? Excuse me. So then you could do the same thing here, but I'm just going to do it like cold with like not putting any parameters. So I'm just going to put globalization and immigration. All right, and then hit search and see what results we get. Okay. So you'll notice that here, as compared to the social science full text, I think they had only about 500 or so. Here you got a little more than over 1,500 results. So it's globalization, immigration, and national identity, how the level of globalization affects the relations between nationalism and constructive patriotism, which would be relevant because of the idea of how the word immigrant and immigration has been transformed into a negative connotation as well as a highly racialized connotation. Here's one, and I think we did come across this globalization, immigration, and welfare state across national comparison, right? Sorry. Yeah, and you want to look at the social index full text. So if you want to see if they have it, what you do is like click on the access options and then find it at CSCDH. And just gotta wait. No, I don't know why my internet or Wi-Fi is lagging. So you could look for it on Sage Journal Premiere 2024, Sage Journal. Yes, you could find it in Sage Journal Premiere, right? But again, what you could do is highlight, right? Okay, this is not cooperating. Let me go back. All right, so you want to highlight the title, and you can go to JSTOR and see if they have it. Oops, wrong one. There it is, and then click. Just like what we did with the other one. And it should be the first one. And I think this is it. Let me double check. Um, Arlie Gray. No, it's not. Huh. Yeah, and sometimes you'll run into situations like this. So if that's the case, you can find it under the the Sage Premiere. Let's look at 2024 since it's the most recent. Oh, this is not helpful at all. Okay, with globalization, immigration, national identity. Oh, here. So here's the article, right? And oh, there it is. Yeah, because it's just small. There is. Yeah, and that's also another issue that sometimes you won't be able to find it, right? But you could sort of read it here, apparently. Yeah, this is the article itself. Right. The format is not necessarily clear, but it is doable. Right. But if you want to avoid this type of formatting, by all means. Um, so then let's just go back and start looking for other sources. Um, let's see. Navigating Globalization Immigrant Policy in Canada and Australia from 1945 2007. Okay, so here, so then that's why you need to check under the access. So then some will have like online full access or have the PDF. I personally like to just download a PDF. It is if it is readily available and it's easier to access, and you can just read it as you go along. And then also with social index, just like with others, it'll give you related articles and topics based on your search results. All right, so I'm just going to close this and make the text slightly bigger. Okay. Um, so then you could read the abstract about scholarship and immigration and see if this is something that would pertain to your particular topic. And then again, here are certain key words that the author uses in their text. And then you can sort of read the introduction, and just skim through it and see if this is something relevant. If it is, you can download it and keep it and put it in a file that you've hopefully created for your project for this course. Or you could just um, uh, close it and go start look oops and look for another source. Sorry about that. Social index. I'm going to go back, globalization and immigration. Let's make this smaller again. Hit results. Right. Or like a conference paper. Right. Like I suggested, you could use another format. Excuse me. All right. So then here it just tells you that you can download it as a PDF. All right. And then this is so then when you see a draft, what it means is that okay, sorry. If you either see the term draft or working paper, what it means is that the author is in the middle of the process of collecting information, editing, writing, writing it, editing it, but then sort of publishes it on some database, so then people can look at it and probably give him feedback, right? And this is typical in academia. Okay. um right, so then just sort of read through this and then see if it's something relevant for yourself, right? um Yeah, so when you see this, you don't necessarily need to worry about it because you're writing it more for a class, and this would be more relevant if another professor wanted to use this information from Sheba George and to be able to publish it like in an academic journal or writing it in a text that will be published to the general public. So then that particular researcher would need to be contact Professor George and ask them for permission. But if it's not Professor George, then they would direct you to the publishing company, and then you would get permission from the publishing company to be able to use some of the information that's in the content of the article. All right, but this is pretty much how you would go about doing it. It's not too. This one is not too complicated, and it's almost straightforward, just like with the social index. So, and you just go through and see what other sources they have. Oh, this one was actually from the our initial one. We did the social abstract. I mean, social index. Sorry, social index. Right. And then here's some more articles. And then, as you saw, you could also look at videos, and you can use videos, but not for this source. I mean, for this assignment, for the annotated bibliography, but you could use videos, for example, in the draft and the draft that you're going to write for me before you submit the final draft at the end of this semester. But if you do want to do that, I could go over the procedure and how you would do that in class. Okay. All right. So let me just close this and then go to social abstracts. And social abstracts is going to look different from the other two. All right. So sociological abstracts, and has access by UC Dominguez Hills. Sorry, I was going to say UCSB. You could select the type of media that you want to use for your search results, but I'm not going to necessarily do that for this example, but you could do it at your free will, and sort of see what they have and what you're looking for, just to sort of see what's out there. And then, of course, looking at what language you want to look at, right? So for this case, we'll just look at English, right? So then I'm going to type out globalization and immigration and see what results we get. Okay, so you'll notice that there's 12,011 results for this particular online database. So you could just look at peer reviewed, and it'll just get knock it down. So it only knocked it down by what, little more than a 900 or so, 1100. Okay. So then you could just look at scholarly journals, right? And that would be 10,000. 329. So it would just reduce it by one. So you could just keep it the way it is. But if you want to limit the dates, what you could do is go to the publication date and use this little sliding scale. And you can go from the 1990s to the early 2000s. But let's say I want like 2010 to 2019 and then update. Right. And here's one that was just published in December 25th, into the future. Right. Okay. So then this is the update. So then you can even refine it more from like 2010, 2017. Let's say we just go to 2000. We'll just keep it here for now. Right. And then what you could also do is look at the subject, migration, immigration, if you want something a little more specific. So then you have these. So then you could look at include or exclude. Let's say I definitely want to include immigration. I definitely want to include politics. And I definitely want to include globalization and immigration policy and maybe transnationalism. If you don't want transnationalism, just hit like exclude, 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 and then apply. And then we'll see how much this is reduced. So now it's 1100, which is becoming a little more manageable. Right. So then these are all the ones that are just focusing on the subtopics. Right. And then you can look at capitalism, neoliberalism, and so on and so forth. But then you could also go further and look for a feature article or articles. So you can look at articles, but I'm just going to leave it the way it is. So I'm just sort of giving you potential ideas of how to limit. And if it doesn't work, then you go back and you go through another word, the meta language categorization of like globalization and immigration. So there's 1100 in English, and these are the other languages. You can look at the publication title, Acta Politica Nationalist Nationalities Paper, Journal of Asian American Studies, Focal. But then you can click this and gives you more journals to look at, like Society and Societies, Latin American Research Review, Progress in Human Geography, Journal of International Migration and Integration. Let's say that, yeah, this might seem something interesting. Maybe you want to look at women as well and look at that. Um, Latino studies could be a potential, right? And then just sort of click that, right? And then it's now reduced to 32. So you could sort of see what, if this is the type of results you want. If it not, you just go back and just click the ones you don't no longer want to be included. All right. Hopefully that makes sense. All right. You could also look at, sorry, you could also look at location. And what that means is looking at like the United States only, China, or other countries or regions. So here those are, okay. Or you could just ignore that. And then you could also look at, there should also be, that there were people. No, maybe not. And then click on organizations and company. So then you could look at there's one piece that's from the U.S. Congress, another for the Department of State, and one from U.S. Citizenship and Migration Services. Something that you might want to look at, right, and then apply. Yeah. So I got a meeting in this with the student in a few minutes on Zoom. All right. So hopefully that makes sense. So let's just sort of say hypothetically that you want to look at workers in Canada and do a comparison between like Latino workers in the United States, doing a comparison. Okay, so here's the abstract. A discourse on transnational labor migration continues to highlight the influence of structures on the experience of existing caregivers. Canada's economic immigration and status regularization programs are not excluded from the discussions, particularly in the Canada Living Caregivers Program. So if this is something that you want to look at, because there is a particular subfield in globalization studies or global studies or sociology of globalization that talks about global care chains. And global care chains is where you have immigrant workers that move from one country to the next that take care of people like either in the hospital or in the home setting. All right, so that's something that might be interest of you. And then these are the subjects, and then the location, and here's some more information, and then it tells you the journal, right? And here's the other information. Now, if you want to try to find the journal itself, is like what we did with the other one. That one source, you can go to JSTOR and see if it's readily available here. Right. So it didn't necessarily give us the article, but it did give us like other articles that relate to that topic, like caregiving training and whatnot. But again, it depends on what you want to do, and it's a hit and miss. So this is not, and it might sound strange, this is not necessarily an exact science. That's why you need to be able to play with the word groupings and making sure that you're able to um, uh, uh, be creative, but still be systematic in terms of how to look for relevant sources for your research. So hopefully this makes sense. And again, if you have any questions, please let me know, and I'll be more than happy to work with you to be able to locate the resources that you need to be able to successfully accomplish this particular assignment. All right, so then I'm gonna close this or end it, and then um, uh, I'm going to try to work on the colonization and human rights because that's still a significant thing that you need to know. I just need to be able to make time to be able to finish that. Okay. All right. So I'll see everyone.